As I said in the introduction, today the Universal Church celebrates the feast or the Day of the Good Shepherd. And all throughout the world, we pray for the gift of vocations to the church. The concept of a good shepherd or the good shepherd, or a shepherd for that matter, is not something found only in the Judeo-Christian tradition. It was also found in the time of the other pagan territories around Israel, from Egypt to Babylon, where their leaders would stand before them with a staff, guiding them. But the difference between that shepherding and the shepherding that God speaks of in the Bible is something completely different. It is a shepherding where it goes to the extreme of self-sacrificing love. But having said that, being a shepherd is, I have to tell you, one of the most difficult things to be or to do. For example, if I am to speak about myself, in my personality as such, I'm a bit of an introvert. I don't usually engage very much with people. I think that is a character trait that I have inherited from my dad. And as a result, being thrust into situations really does take a lot out of me. It is quite taxing at times. But having said that, from the time I decided to respond to the call of God, as I discerned my vocation, it has never been an easy ride. I think that's why my formator in the seminary says, "Leonard, live your life as an exclamation, not an explanation." So I am trying to be that. Anyway, I have always been a bit of a reserved person. And from the moment that I started, I had this liking or this desire to serve the Lord as a priest. Now, I have to tell you a bit of my background. I am the eldest in my family, and therefore, in the culture that I come from, the elders usually carries a lot of weight in the family, and therefore, the parents do expect a lot from an elder in the family, or the eldest, the firstborn of the family, whether it be a man, a boy, or a girl. And when I started discerning my vocation after I finished my studies, so I went to my father and I said, "Dad, I would like to join the seminary." And it wasn't something that went down very well. Sadly, he would have none of it. He was not open to that thought. And as a result, he said, "No, I can't give you permission. Why don't you go get a job? Work somewhere, and after a couple of years, if you still feel that you want to do it, we'll think about it." So, as an obedient, dutiful son, that is just what I did. I went, and I found employment. I worked for a little close to 2 years, and then after that, I still had this deep longing that I wanted to do something more with my life, especially the desire that I felt that the Lord was calling me into the life as a priest was very strong. So then finally, I went to my parish priest because I did not know how my father would take it. I went to my parish priest and told him, "Father, this is what I want. This is what I would like to do with my life. Can you please give me permission?" Now, mind you, at that time, I've been quite active in the church. I was in the youth group, I was an altar server, but I didn't tell anyone about my inner desire, more or less. And when I told my parish priest what his first thing was, he was scared. He said, "Are you sure you want to do this? Because what will your parents say?" So then I went and spoke to my parents, and after much anger and crying on the part of my mom gave me permission, but my dad held out his permission. But anyway, I decided to go to my parish priest once again and ask, because as you know, if you want to go to seminary, you need to get a letter or recommendation from your parish priest. So what I did was I went and asked him, and he gave one, so I joined the seminary. And life has been rather turbulent from that time onwards, I have to tell you, because the life as a seminarian and as a priest is a rather lonely one. It's not something that's full of comfort. You are always encouraged to study hard. You're always encouraged to pray better. You are encouraged to practice piety more than the others. And therefore, it's always a challenge. It's one thing after another. And I have to tell you, going through all of that, it has made me, as a human being, a much stronger person. But also at the same time, it reminds me of the journey that I myself have had responding to the Lord, the Good Shepherd, to his voice, as the Gospel says, to listen to his voice. And this year, in a couple of months, I'll be celebrating 15 years as a priest. And I have to tell you, the Lord has brought me literally to the end of the earth. I'm in Tasmania proclaiming the message of God to you. So it has been a rather interesting and at times turbulent journey. But having said that, just like the Good Shepherd, each and every one of us, we are called to listen to the voice of the Lord. Because one of the main tasks of a shepherd at that time was to provide rest, safety, and security to the sheep under his care. And therefore, if you remember in the Gospel of John, Jesus says, he is the sheep gate, because the shepherd sleeps across the gate so that no animals would attack, because sheep are very temperamental creatures. If they are frightened in the least, they won't be settled, and therefore it is burdensome for the shepherd. And then the next aspect of a shepherd actually is to free the sheep from strife. As you know, I think if you go down away from Hobart, you can see many pastures where sheep are there. They're not that meek and humble as you see. At times they have a go at each other, just like us human beings. And the shepherd's task is to really see that they are free from that strife. They are called to be free from conflict and to experience peace. And the next aspect of a shepherd is he's called to be the health of his sheep. Now, as you know, most sheep are prone to parasites, prone to injuries. And therefore, one of the tasks of a shepherd is to bind their wounds, to free them from these parasites so that they can live a happy existence. So therefore, my dear brothers and sisters, as we reflect on the task of a shepherd, let us look at our very selves as to how we respond to this call. As Jesus himself says, "Come to me, you who are weary, and you will find rest." Jesus makes a claim that I am the divine physician. He breathes on his disciples and says, "I give you peace." So therefore, my dear brothers and sisters, we are called in a special way, not just listening with the ear of our head, but listening with the ear of our heart to what the Lord is inviting us to do, what the Lord is calling us to do. There is a story that I would like to share with you. It says in one country parish, there was a group of people, young and old, children and adults, who were having a talent show. And it says there was one little boy who stood up and recited Psalm 23. As you know, the Psalm 23 is "The Lord is my shepherd." That's a psalm. And As he recited it so beautifully, everybody started clapping, it says. And then after a few more events that took place, an elderly gentleman with a bit of a croak in his voice and a haughty, deep voice stood up and recited Psalm 23 once again. And this time there was a difference. Many were stunned at his rendition. He didn't say anything different, but it was the way he said it. And then it says that pastor, the priest of that country church, stood up and said, "This young boy knew the psalm, but this gentleman knew the shepherd." My dear brothers and sisters, we are called to know the shepherd. We are called to trust in the shepherd. We are called to be led by the shepherd. Therefore, on this day, as we celebrate Good Shepherd Sunday, as we are called to pray in a special way, I ask you to keep this intention in mind. As you know, St. Mary's Cathedral parish is a mix or a merger of three parishes: Lena Valley, Sacred Heart, and here at St. Mary's. So St. Mary's is not just cathedral, but it is a cathedral parish. And the reason for the merging of all these is, if you have not noticed, Tasmania is in dire need of priestly vocations. So therefore, my earnest appeal to all of you, my dear brothers and sisters, for the next year, please keep this intention in your mind. Just say one Hail Mary, that the Lord will open the minds and hearts of young people to respond courageously to the voice of the Lord, that they will be strong enough to persevere to the end, not give up when things go wrong, but to persevere faithfully in serving the people of God as shepherds. So therefore, with that intention, let us continue in today's Eucharist.